This is the play that keeps them relevant and in our homes. Don't be surprised if these games are on this platform and on this platform only. The premium product on ESPN's direct-to-consumer app. Everybody's doing this. Cannot everything have to change? This has been a negotiation that's been going on for 4 years. The world's premium brand in sports partnered with the four-letter network now. Can we not have great things just consistently in our sports life? Cannot everything have to change from what we once knew it to be just legit and great? That was NFL RedZone. And now we're entering an era where ESPN's going to own the rights to NFL RedZone, to fantasy football leagues and all of their library, their catalog of fantasy football information there with the NFL. Also, sports wagering will certainly be involved. And NFL games. 7 more games will be added to the already 25-game package for ESPN. And the NFL is going to have up to a 10% stake in ESPN. They will have a vested interest in the financial health of the four-letter network. Chad, ultimately, this has been a negotiation that's been going on for 4 years. There was very little interest when it was floated out there 4 years ago that the NFL wanted to sell off its media branch of the company. They wanted someone else to do all the production and take over what they had built through NFL Network. And 4 years later, here's the deal that can keep ESPN much more than just afloat, because they're going to this direct-to-consumer app. And, well, you put the NFL on there and you put RedZone on there. That is extremely valuable to what is already a $30 per month price for sports fans.
Hutton, in the words of Mike McDaniel today at training camp, it's not just a good day, it's a great day because we're all one day closer to death. That was his reasoning. As when someone said good morning to him, he said, no, it's a great morning. And they said, why? And he said, because we're one day closer to death. Are we one day closer to the death of everyone's love affair with RedZone, with NFL? I don't think so. Look, I think that ESPN, if this deal goes through, they've done a lot of stupid things over their time, and we've chronicled all of them here on this show. I also think that a lot of times, against all odds, common sense perseveres and it prevails at the end of the day, and I would hope this is a case where that happens. And I'll give you an example. I don't have the money to acquire a big media company or a show or any of these things that large conglomerates, corporations have to swallow up big media enterprises. But if I did have the money to do that and I wanted to invest this much money into something, one thing I would damn sure not do is mess with the success of what I just bought. I'm buying the product as is for a steep price because I like the product. I want to own the product. I want people to enjoy it as part of my company now. I would hope that ESPN and Disney would take that approach with NFL RedZone, which, I don't know, is it 85, 90% approval of ESPN RedZone and the ability to watch those games and how they do it? I hope they don't mess with the success of that much. But, Hutton, I've been surprised before when companies have acquired other media companies and mess with it. A good example of this not happening is with what Pat McAfee did with ESPN, because he didn't flat out sell everything to ESPN. He still has the editorial ability to control his own content and his show. But it feels like that's been a pretty good partnership for both. Oh, it is, because McAfee hasn't changed.
Well, partnership's
and his
key
show
here.
Hasn't really changed.
Partnership's key here because the NFL can opt out of the current broadcast rights. That's coming up in 2029 if they choose to do that. This keeps a working relationship hand in hand for ESPN with the NFL, with all these other negotiations that are about to take place. It puts the product, the premium product, on ESPN's direct-to-consumer app, on their platform. It is the most popular and the top-level programming that you can have when it comes to broadcast rights, period. I mean, when it comes to programming, the ratings speak for themselves. And next year, not this upcoming season, but the following season, ESPN will have the Super Bowl. All of this comes together as they will own NFL RedZone, which is the premium product if you're going to want to have these tent pole channels or reasons to have everyone who's cut the cord jump on board with your app, with ESPN Plus or whatever they're calling it, ESPN, I know, but what was going to be, flagship, I think they were going to call it. Chad, this is, everyone's worried that they're going to be ads. NFL Network was, the NFL and RedZone, they were putting the playing through ads up on the screen last year. Fans were pissed off about it, but that's the era we're in. It sucks. But we're no longer going to see the 7 hours of commercial-free programming with Scott Hansen not able to take a bathroom break.
Yeah.
The games themselves, 7 more games for ESPN. Again, they can put that on their direct-to-consumer platform because the NFL was doing that. They were offering that on NFL Plus on their premium app. This is the same deal. And now the NFL had it. It was just the 9:30 a.m. kickoffs, and then there was a bonus game that they aired, I believe, in Week 18. Beyond that, ESPN's absolutely going to take that, and they'll distribute that like they would a typical game. They're already paying the NFL $2.7 billion a year for 25 games, and that's the rights to Monday Night Football. That also it could include the rights for the NFL Draft. That's up for bid next year as well. This puts ESPN in a great spot. It's more than just a parachute. It is. It's oxygen. You've got the world's premium brand in sports partnered with the four-letter network now, and owning a 10% stake in the company.
Well, and do we want ESPN to have 7 more games for the NFL? I've long contended that the one thing ESPN still does well most of the time are games.
Sure.
When it gets the games, they're very adept at production. They do a good job broadcasting and carrying the games. Where ESPN gets in trouble is with the analysis around the games, or awarding an Arthur Ashe Courage Award, or hiring someone who takes to Blue Sky about the L.A. mayoral race over and over again to break down NFL secondaries. That's where they get themselves in trouble. It's not with broadcasting games. I don't have a huge objection to much of what ESPN does from a broadcast team standpoint, Hutton. Do you? When you go through the different broadcast teams?
For the NFL, they have their premium.
Some are way better than others.
Oh, they have their premium group, and then they have just a hodgepodge, is what I would describe. Their pregame show, Scott Van Pelt, is excellent. SVP standalone is an A.
He's great.
He's excellent. But I don't tune in to watch really anybody else that's on that desk.
No.
The Monday Night Countdown crew, it's just not as good as it was, with
Steve Young
and that crew. Yeah, Randy Moss.
Randy Moss is better.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So
I don't think Jason Kelsey, he's a good personality. He's way more of a podcast guy with his brother than he is a pregame analyst.
Yeah.
Definitely not an in-game analyst.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that he's not been better, honestly. I think he's been pretty bad.
I think it's just a C+ for their pregame show.
I give it a D because I just think Ryan Clark, Kelsey, and Marcus Spears are all not very good.
Yeah.
Van Pelt's great, but it's tough to go 0 for 3.
Again, you want the
with
draw.
Analysts.
So the draw, the premium booth is Monday Night Football with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Hands down. To me, that's the A+ booth right now for the NFL. The NFL offices love this crew, by the way. And you throw in Lisa Salters there. Yes, they're paying premium price for premium product right here.
It's tough to have a big objection. I think certain people just don't like Joe Buck just because they've never liked Joe Buck. But I think he's a really good broadcaster. I've never had a big problem with him. And Aikman's terrific. Lisa Salters is awesome, a pro. I go A, solid A for that broadcast team.
And then there's the second broadcast team, if they have the doubleheader or whatever, Chris Fowler, Dan Orlovsky, and Louis Riddick. This is a C, and it's because of Chris Fowler. I'm not a big fan of his on play-by-play. Just haven't been. I loved him on College Game Day. And play-by-play, I just think there's a lot to be desired personally.
It's great at Wimbledon. Give me Wimbledon, give me College Game Day.
Riddick, yeah, there you go. Yeah, Wimbledon's great. Look, the other two, Riddick and Orlovsky are fine. They're really good at what they do. But, is this going to switch up? Yes, it's going to switch up. Rich Eisen just joined ESPN again. He's been doing games for NFL Network. play-by-play. You could pair that with Mike Greenberg. Greeny has done play-by-play before. Paul Burmeister is on NFL Network. Now, he's the voice of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, but he does NFL Network games. And there are plenty of other examples of NFL Network talent that still exist that ESPN will now have access to, from the studio crews to the booth. So I think this now gets spread across the ESPN platform, so to speak, from the NFL's perspective.
Yeah, I'm going C on this broadcast team. It's not because I have a problem with any of the three. I think they're all really good separately.
Yeah.
I don't like the blending. I don't like a two-man booth, a three-man booth. I don't like two color analysts on any game. Buck and Aikman work best because they're two guys who operate really well together. Tirico Collinsworth, I really like, because two guys who operate well together. Al Michaels and Collinsworth before Tirico. Terrific. Two guys operating at a high level and know how to complement each other. Dan Orlovsky's really good at talking ball. Louis Riddick's really good at talking ball. I see these three guys, first off, I think college football more for them to broadcast games than I do NFL.
Yeah.
But I also think they're good separately, but together it's a C. It's just not that good together. If it was Fowler and Riddick or Fowler and Orlovsky, I think that would be maybe a B+. Those two together instead of a three-man booth.
Yep, and it's
that's just personal preference.
The one or two games that they're going to broadcast together. Now, here are other broadcasters from NFL Network's perspective that now ESPN will have access to: Rich Eisen, Kurt Warner, Steve Mariucci, Gerald McCoy, Chris Rose, Colleen Wolfe, Cynthia Freeland, Jamie Erdahl, Taylor Bisciotti, Kyle Brandt, Bucky Brooks, Chase Daniel. I mean, there's a big list of players that they use that now can be on a booth like this.
Yeah,
and don't be surprised.
I would think, though, the hope would be, because it doesn't always happen, they have such a stable of talent at ESPN that they don't just kick everybody aside. That in this purchase, they want to fold in those really talented people at NFL Network to be a part of it, right?
Yeah.
Not just say, no, we have better people for that. Let's spend all this money on this product and then kick out some of the people that help make the product, which I do not advise.
No, I hope that's not the case either. And we've already seen layoffs on both sides, from NFL Network and, of course, from ESPN. Chad, the thing, though, is you've got the $10 a month that we're currently spending. You're still YouTube TV, right?
Yep.
$10 a month goes to ESPN from our bill for their channels. That's their subscription for the average cable subscriber. They were in 100 million homes in 2011. And last year, Nielsen says they're in 65 million. It's a big drop. This is the play that keeps them relevant and in our homes, even though we've cut the cord. And I think by and large, when it comes to football season, this will be what you subscribe for. Then you cut the cord during the non-football months. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. But you still have the NFL draft. You certainly have other reasons, start of free agency, that you want to tune in for. Don't be surprised if these games are on this platform and on this platform only. The only way you can watch them is through ESPN's direct to subscriber platform, because before everyone's just up in arms and just appalled and offended, that's exactly what Peacock's done. That's exactly what Amazon has done. That's what YouTube TV is doing. Everybody's doing this, and ESPN is now partnered with the league itself prior to the league opting out of all of these broadcast rights in 2029. It's a solid business move, and a move that they didn't really find much interest in a couple of years ago, which is surprising.
Well, and part of this transaction, which, by the way, Donald Trump has to okay for it to go through.
Yeah, the regulatory
there's a lot of talk about
process now.
He's going to be a thorn in the side of the NFL and Disney because he's had issues with the NFL and Disney in the past. He's already taken a Truth Social and hinted that he's going to stop any stadium build for the Washington football team in D.C. unless they change their name back, and a lot of other things that have come out of this. So that remains to be seen about what the president's going to do to involve himself or not in this. We're going to talk to Michael McCarthy about that, who's got a big story up at Front Office Sports about that a little bit later. But if you give me the option, you talk about YouTube TV, If ESPN and Disney get 7 more games, let's say, that's part of this whole thing, I welcome it. Here's what I don't want. I don't want Prime Video getting more games. And that's just a convenience thing. I watch a couple things on Amazon Prime or Prime Video. But I'm not dying to go off of YouTube TV where I'm watching a college football game on Thursday night, or maybe early in the season I'm watching a baseball game, and I can multi-view it and then watch the Thursday night ESPN NFL game. I'd much rather see it on an ESPN network than I would, let's say, Prime Video or Apple TV, where usually I'm only going there for non-sporting content. So if it's the choice between where it is now on Thursday or during the week, I would take ESPN just out of convenience, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't care who's broadcasting the game. That's just me wanting to go somewhere where I could watch multiple games at once.
Well, they're
more easily,
almost guaranteeing that you have to have them in your package.
Yeah,
and they get to name their price now. They've already named it at $29.99, which is launching soon. Now they can up that price, another premium price. They're going to have ads during Red Zone. I mean, that's definitely expected. But CBS and Fox still broadcast the most NFL games, but they're regional. And in this case, you're getting some of the marquee matchups already on ESPN and ABC's platform. Reaction to this, about what you would expect. Joe Beltner.
This is pretty funny.
It says,
post.
Here's the 3-year plan to destroy Red Zone. Year 1, no more commercial-free football. Year 2, replaces the term witching hour with something that promotes ESPN+. Mm-hmm. And in year 3, replaces Scott Hansen with Kendrick Perkins.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's well done.
KP stepping in for Hansen. No bathroom breaks for him either.
Yeah.
Would be amazing.
Here's another one. If ESPN changes the NFL Red Zone experience one bit from what it currently is, that would be a massive blunder. They now own the best TV product since Seinfeld.
Wow.
Just play it on your channel as is and be happy.
I will say, Red Zone's great. I do think that Red Zone's entered that mythological territory where everyone treats it like it is God's greatest gift to humanity.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's fun to sit around and watch on a Sunday afternoon, but it's not the best piece of television since Seinfeld, with all due respect to Andrew Cooper, this gentleman.
Take that up with Scott Hansen.
Yeah.
Why don't you?
Seinfeld was great.
There's Clay's reaction to it. President Trump should hold up the NFL Network selling to ESPN, which will require federal approval, and the building of a new Washington football stadium, which also will require federal approval until the NFL agrees to bring back the Washington Redskins name. Let's dive into this, shall we? Coming up, Michael McCarthy joins us, one of the best covering all things when it comes to media, partnerships, business, and more at Front Office Sports. Michael, thank you for the time. Hope things are well.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So this was a 4-year negotiation. There was a point where things kind of broke off. They got back. We've been reading it all at Front Office Sports. What ultimately got this deal done when it didn't seem like there was much interest whenever the NFL announced, hey, we'd like to sell off our media side of our business?
What we're hearing at Front Office Sports is that it took a face-to-face meeting between Bob Iger, who's the head of Disney, and Roger Goodell, who's the head of the NFL, to sit down over bread and say, look, do we really want to do this? Do we really want to push this button? And from what I'm hearing, that kind of cleared the deck. I mean, really what you're talking about here is an old-fashioned trade, right? The NFL trades most of its media assets, which it doesn't want anymore, to ESPN, which would love to have them because it's launching an app. In return, the NFL gets an equity stake in ESPN worth an estimated 10%, and that's going to be worth billions. So we're looking at a win-win here. Problem is, it hasn't been officially announced, and people like me in the sports media are like watching the Vatican, waiting for that puff of smoke.
So they have an earnings report coming up for Disney on Wednesday. Maybe that's where they slide that in there. I'm not sure.
That's correct.
Okay, so from the perspective of there's an opt-out coming for the NFL where with their media rights packages across all platforms. That's in 2029. How does this affect ESPN specifically? And is this a deal that's in perpetuity, or is there a cap on this? Is this a 10-year agreement? What have you heard there?
I'm still waiting for the details on this, but how it could help ESPN is this. It's harder to fire a real business partner than just a media rights partner, right? this would literally put ESPN in bed with the NFL, with NFL owners. And I think it positions them for better game schedules. It positions them for more Super Bowls down the line. I noticed earlier in your show, you were mentioning that ESPN is going to be showing its first Super Bowls. I mean, they've already got a countdown clock up in Bristol for this.
Yeah.
They've never had a Super Bowl, and it's been their dream. So there's a lot of ways this could benefit ESPN. And if you're the NFL, look, the cable business is crumbling. Clay talks about it all the time on Fox News. Most of these cable networks are, going out of business, losing viewers. They don't want to be in this money-losing business anymore. They make too much from their media rights.
Would this deal have been a lot easier to go through if it was 2 years ago and Joe Biden was still in office and not Donald Trump, given Donald Trump's history with both the NFL and Disney? At this point, would it have been an easier, as you said, kind of push the button and give it clearance and let it go through type deal with Joe Biden as opposed to Donald Trump?
I think it would have been. As you said, Donald Trump is the ultimate wild card. This is a guy who, if he has any leverage, even if he doesn't have any leverage, tries to apply it. He's already trying to leverage the Commanders into changing their name back to the Redskins. And he has a long checkered history with the NFL. His beef with the NFL is as long as my arm. Goes back to the 1980s when he was a USF owner, leading an antitrust suit. And don't forget, 2 years before Donald Trump originally ran for president, he was rejected by NFL owners as owner of the Buffalo Bills. So if he remembers these slights, and I think he does, there's a chance, and I hear there's growing concern that he could step into the breach here.
Yeah, and we talked about it before, too. Clay has posted that President Trump should get involved and demand the NFL reinstate the Redskins' name for this deal to go through and for the stadium to be built and all of these different things. Let me ask you from this perspective. How important of an issue is it to keep the Redskins' name out of the NFL for the NFL? Is that still an important stance for Roger Goodell, or have they become more lenient on that approach in the year since that name change?
I'm hearing that the position of the team has softened, that rather than just rejecting it out of hand, they are considering it. Because let's face it, the culture wars have turned, right? The economy has turned. The way people are talking and thinking has turned. And some of the things that may have led, to pressure on the team 5 years ago aren't existed anymore. I mean, I don't have any skin in the game. I could care less whether it's, what the name is. If they want to keep the Commanders, fine. But, there is a certain percentage of people who like the old name. And there's a certain percentage of people who like the new name and think to go back to the old name would be a slur and an insult to Native Americans. So it's a very, very tricky decision for the Commanders when you got the president, breathing down your neck.
What is the process like now with this for the regulatory approval? Like I read 9 months to a year process. It could be that long. What are we in store for?
Could be longer. I mean, we're talking about a deal worth billions of dollars. The FTC would have to take a look at this. Department of Justice, antitrust would probably have to sign off on this. It's a very, very complicated transaction that involves licenses and federal this and federal that. So yeah, everybody, is going to want to take a whack at this. I think, to the NFL's credit, and I think it's smart, they've done their best to mend fences with Donald Trump. As you know, Donald Trump was the first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl in February. He was there in New Orleans, and Goodell himself hosted them. Donald Trump was very proud to announce that Washington, D.C. would be the home of the NFL draft in 2027. So the NFL is doing a lot of things to try to curry favor with the president.
Not currying favor with fans would be ads on RedZone. Are we about to see that when ESPN is running things here?
Unfortunately, we already did last year. And I felt bad for Hansen because he had to go out there, basically say, everything I've been promising you for 20 years is now ended. We saw the first ads on RedZone. Unfortunately, I think it's the way of the world. I mean, I think if ESPN gets this for their DTC platform, they're going to try to monetize it. Already, that barrier has been broken last year. So, yeah, I think you are going to see ads. Rich Eisen's coming over to ESPN. What does it mean for the business of NFL Network and the broadcasters, the hosts, the analysts? I think you're going to see a real merging of talents. I think ESPN is going to utilize these people. One of the things about ESPN is if you work for ESPN, you're a grinder. They use you. They don't want
Yeah.
you working once a week. So if those NFL Network people start working for ESPN, believe me, you're going to see them at Get Up and NFL Live and all these kinds of shows. But I think it's great for the NFL Network people. I mean, the NFL Network has been in cost-cutting mode for years. Look at how long it took Hansen to get his deal. I mean, it was almost a year's negotiation. You can't ask for a more popular guy in sports media than Scott Hansen. So I think it's a great news for the talent if ESPN decides to retain them.
The NFL, they have it in an amazing way, and they always have. We always joke about how they always have all the leverage, even though they're the ones getting paid so much money, right? They're still the ones that can easily say, hey, if you broadcast a game in a way that we don't like or say something we don't like, we can kick you to the curb and go get someone else to pay us bukus of cash to have this. So we have all the leverage in this. So my question is, if they now have a 10% stake in ESPN, how does that affect the editorial of an Adam Schefter, of everyone at ESPN? Are they now working directly for the NFL? Or does the NFL, as someone that likes to make a profit, will they start feeding the juicy stories to ESPN to make sure they have it, make sure eyeballs are on the network, make sure people are watching, because it's yet another way for them to line their pockets?
Yeah, it's a legit question. I don't see the NFL, issuing diktats on what Schefter can and can't report. I think that battle was 10 years ago. Do you remember the old show Playmakers that ESPN did? It was a drama that Tagliabue just hated. So Tagliabue went to the NFL and said, get this crap off the air, and they did it, right? And ESPN for years had the worst booth, Monday Night Football, right? What did Jimmy Pitaro go? He went out, raided Fox, paid every cent it took to get Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Now they got the best booth. So I think they're going to let ESPN operate on its own. You know what I mean? Will more scoops go their way? And I think it's inevitable. Schefter is already the number one insider, and now they got Peter Schrags and Ian Rappaport possibly joining him. As kind of a new Mort, Schefter 1-2 combo. So yeah, I think if there's going to be any news, you're right. It's going to be broken by ESPN.
Hey, Michael McCarthy, our guest. So also part of this we see where there is fantasy football, maybe some sports wagering, other business dealings. What all entails with that? Is it just like the ESPN now just consumes the platform of fantasy football at NFL.com, or is it more than that?
Well, I'm glad you put your finger on that, because that's one of the deals part of this deal that people aren't talking about. ESPN has been working for years to launch this direct-to-consumer app. It's coming this fall. It's called Surprise ESPN. It's going to cost $29.99 a month. They wanted that fantasy football business, and they wanted that business bad, because that and the Red Zone are going to be two selling points for this new app. They're going to get people like me to buy it.
Yeah.
And I think, getting their fantasy football business was a huge part of this. I don't think they could give a crap about the cable network, but the fantasy football and the Red Zone, that's what they wanted.
For years, and you cover this so closely, Michael, so but ESPN almost served as a promotional arm of the NBA when they had a big stake in carrying NBA games and product all the time. I feel like a big loser in this is the NBA. Is there another league out there that if the NFL and ESPN are in bed to this level, that they're not going to see the spotlight and promotion maybe they did before? I think the SEC will be fine, given all their promotional for Saturdays, right, in college football, and how that does, and during college basketball season with no NFL. But is there another league or sport that I'm missing out on that will be hurt by this move?
Major League Baseball.
Okay.
Right now, Major League Baseball, ESPN at the end of a 40-year relationship. Now, people like me are still holding out hope that they will continue, because I love baseball and I love the access that it gives millions of viewers across ESPN. But frankly, Major League Baseball feels very dissed and insulted by ESPN. And I think the fact that they're literally getting into business with the NFL might be too much for Major League Baseball to just accept. The other league I always worried about, and I'm a hockey fan, is the NHL. The NHL just never gets the kind of coverage it deserves. And let's face it, the ESPN cares the most about NFL and NBA. And when I say NFL, I say 1A and 1B is college football, because they're the leader in college football.
Michael, you wrote about this recently, but have you seen a bigger rising star in the podcast industry than Sophie Cunningham with this season of the WNBA and how quickly her popularity has skyrocketed?
She has got to be one of the smartest marketers I've ever seen. And I've covered a lot of athletes who are good at business. I mean, here she was a virtual unknown. She was basically, a minor league star who was going around. And she just slid into this role as Caitlin Clark's bodyguard bestie. And next thing you know, she's got a podcast with Colin Cowherd. She's got endorsements with the Ring. She's got endorsements with Arby. She's making millions. Well, these other players in the league are making 170,000. So I'm calling it the summer of Sophie. I mean, to me, she's my marketing star of 2025.
Is that league mistake proof? I mean, I keep looking at the ratings when Caitlin's not playing. The ratings are still up. I mean, you just, but yet they seem to do everything but promote what makes them great right now. But the audience is there.
You got the Celtics owner spending millions over market value to move the Connecticut Sun to Boston.
Okay.
It is a conundrum, isn't it? They seem to do everything wrong. They seem to have been a step behind, a day late and a dollar short with the biggest sports supernova since Tiger Woods. And yet, the ratings are through the roof. And I think the reason for that is because there's a soap opera element to it. The NBA has kind of become transactional, right? Where is so-and-so going? X is going to Y. You know what I mean? The WNBA is fire and passion and feuds and fighting and brawls on the court. It's almost like the NBA back in the 80s and 90s with the Pistons and the Knicks, with these real on-court rivalries. And I think people love that.
Yeah, I mean, other leagues are jealous. I mean, let's face it. Like Major League Baseball would love the attention.
Well, and you mentioned the NBA would love that level of passion with their teams.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
I got to tell you, if I'm the WNBA commissioner or I'm even Adam Silver, I'm going to the refs and saying, you got to protect her. This is money.
Why haven't they? Why haven't they?
Don't give her a different set of rules, but don't let her get beaten up and hurt either.
How perplexing is it for you? Because look, it's not like they're idiots when it comes to money. I mean, they're in those positions as owners because they're very good financially, but yet they haven't done that. To what you're saying, we said the same thing. It would make common sense.
Yeah, it's just a matter of just get out of your own way. Just realize that there's Caitlin Clark before the WNBA before Caitlin Clark, and there's the WNBA after Caitlin Clark. We used to talk about for 25 years the Tiger Woods effect. Mm-hmm. Do you remember, before Tiger Woods, golf was this white shoe sport. Nobody watched it. Tiger came, all of a sudden the ratings doubled, tripled, purses went through the roof. It was good for everybody. Tiger lifted everybody's boats, and that's exactly what Caitlin Clark is doing. And if they're just smart enough to get out of their own way and let her do her thing, you know what I mean? She'll be a rocket.
Well, and the way the NFL protects their quarterbacks, that's their biggest investment. So they have rules in place to protect the quarterback. And like you're saying, Michael, it's not put bubble tape around her, but having that conversation with every team that this is now going to be our biggest investment. And you can't say this to the other teams, but we all know, wink, wink, nod, nod. The best thing that can happen for the league is for Caitlin Clark to put up huge numbers, to wow crowds, and to play until the very end. To make it to your finals and play for championships consistently is the best thing to happen for the financials for everyone in that league. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. And don't even get me started on how the NFL protects Patrick Mahomes. Remember, he used to do that little shimmy dance along the sideline,
Sure.
and he would kind of bounce around, waiting for somebody to give him a shove, and then he'd flop and get 15 yards. The NFL is smart enough, and the NFL referees realize that he is, our money ticket. And let's face it, sports superstars always got the call, right? Michael Jordan got the call. Didn't detract from his greatness. He's Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Hey, two quick ones on the way out. Your time's valuable. We appreciate you, Michael. Michael McCarthy with us. First, how much are we about to be inundated with Bill Belichick and UNC when it comes kickoff time?
We just did a story about this in Front Office Sports. It's going to be the Bill Belichick show on ESPN. Literally, ESPN platforms are going to have 8 to 10 of his 12 games.
Okay.
And that's the ACC rights partner, and they own the ACC network and all this. But yeah, look for Dion Part 2 with the pregame shows competing to interview Bill. And from what I heard, ACC Media Day was lit. My buddy David Rumsey was down there, and he said they never had more reporters, and you know what I mean. They were all just crowded in, listening to Chapel Bill like he was a Hollywood star or something. So I think it's going to be Dion Part 2. People are going to go crazy, particularly if he wins a couple of games. then you're really going to see Chapel Bill Mania go nuts.
That's the first time that ACC Media Days has ever been referred to as lit. So
Yeah.
that's
right.
big, a big step for that conference.
Final thing for you, is it Saban Part 2 in the NFL? How much chatter are you hearing? Are they planning on who they would put into his spot on College Game Day, for instance? Have they even started that chat yet?
They have not.
Okay.
And Saban justifiably won an Emmy his first year in College Game Day. He couldn't be in better position, with Coach Corso retiring, to take it to the less of them. But let's face it, these guys are coaches.
Yeah.
How many times have coaches gone back on their word to return to coaching? Like they said, you can only coaches are only lying when their lips are moving. And this is the guy called Nick Saban, when he denied he was going to Alabama. So do I think, he could return to coaching? Absolutely.
You agree with us that he and McAfee together it's perfect.
Fantastic.
It's perfect. McAfee without Saban was, ridiculed by the fan base.
Yeah. And what was really great for ESPN, and again, I'm not picking sides of this, but Fox was moving in on them with Big Noon Kickoff.
Sure.
They were making some strides. And ESPN said, look, College Game Day is great. It's iconic, but we got to, keep it new. And they brought in McAfee. And even though people hated McAfee at first, by the end of the season or two, people love this kicking segment. It's one of my favorite things on TV.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, keep up the great work. Thank you for the time. Hopefully this isn't the only time you'll join us. We love having you on today, and we'll hopefully hit you back up whenever there's more big-time business news, which is every day across the sports landscape.
My pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you.
There he is, Michael McCarthy.
That was excellent.
Front Office Sports.
Really
That's where
good.
you can find his great work, no doubt.